Great. So, well, thanks a lot for having me here. I'm really glad to be here. After all the years that I've spent working in the digital world, this is the first time that I've attended an IAB meeting. And it's really amazing to think about that digital media is now a $50 billion industry, so we can congratulate all of ourselves on that. And when I started Wikia back in March of 2006, it's about 10 years ago now, digital revenues were just a quarter of that, and so we've really come a long way. So some of you are probably thinking, oh, I thought Wikipedia was older than that, and that is true. I'm talking about Wikia, my other company. We rely almost entirely on partnering with advertisers, and it's a for-profit business. So what is Wikia? So we started Wikia to be the home for content that just didn't fit into Wikipedia. Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, not anything else. And we saw that there was a lot of eagerness amongst people to go further, go deeper, go into different directions. And so Wikia was the early beginning. But it's evolved quite a bit since then. And today it has become the largest entertainment fan site on the web. In fact, we're the largest by quite a long shot. Wikia puts the fans in control. We've developed a platform that enables our users to create and share knowledge. Our contributors are really the super fans. So you might be a fan of something, but trust me, there's a Wikia editor who knows far more about it than you do. They are super duper fans who are really into various kinds of things they're passionate about. They are some of the most knowledgeable experts in the world. And these are the folks that traditional media call when they want to understand pop culture and trends. So just to give you a little sense of the kind of content on Wikia, we are the largest video gaming fan site. We are the largest television fan site. We are the second largest movie fan site, only behind IMDb. We are the largest book fan site. And we are the largest comics fan site, and so on. So in all of these major categories, Wikia really dominates. We have massive scale, both with the audience size, but also the vast content library. This month, we reached 190 million unique visitors, so it's really quite big. In terms of the content database, Wikia has more than 40 million pages of original content. So just to give you an idea for perspective, the entire New York Times article archive dating back to 1851 is 13 million articles, and that's less than a third. And Wikia even eclipses Wikipedia just by a bit. We've just surpassed Wikipedia in terms of the total amount of content. And so Wikia's content needs to be experienced to be fully appreciated. It is information-packed, it is authentic, it is written by fan experts. It's incredibly deep and offering a level of detail not found anywhere else. This is why we're the 15th largest website in the US in any category, and by far the largest entertainment fan site in the world. So that's pretty exciting, we think. But I'm not just here to tell you about my past success story, just the opposite, in fact. With Wikia, we saw that there's an even greater opportunity, and so let me explain that. Wikia is a property that most users discover via organic search. So here's an example. So we're at Google, and suppose you wanted to find the pitch Don Draper gave when he introduced the Kodiak carousel in the third season of Mad Men. You'd probably Google something like Don Draper Kodiak carousel, like the slowest typist in the world who's doing that there. And among the top links, you'd find this page, which is the episode. And then when we zoom in on the content, you actually find and you can see that pitch. So when you zoom in, there we go. That's great. It's going to zoom more. Very good. Super. Zoom. And you can find the exact thing you were looking for. So this is the main way that people find us. So what if you're a fan of Call of Duty, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and you start conducting searches on them? There's a very, very good chance that you'll end up on Wikia as the top result. I can give you an example. I think in one sense, I'm the classic user of Wikia, just as an end user. I like Game of Thrones. My wife does not like Game of Thrones, so I only watch Game of Thrones on planes when I'm traveling, and so I can only watch it in bursty, sort of, and I can never remember, what the hell, there's so many bearded kings in that show, I can't keep them straight. So what I do is I've actually downloaded all of the Wikia pages on each episode, and I read them to catch up so that I know what's going on, and as I'm watching the show, if a character is referenced, I can't remember what it is, I can go back to the episode guides and remember. So Anyway, so as you're searching, the more specificity you use in the search, the greater the likelihood you'll find us, because our content is incredibly deep. If you just type Game of Thrones, you might find Wikipedia, but if you type some specific character, some specific event, then that's where you find us, because we've got a depth of content that even Wikipedia doesn't even come close to. So we've got 190 million unique visitors coming to Wikia each month, but we've been digging in better to better understand why they come and when they come. Is our utility to settle barroom bets, as a cynic might say? Well, that happens too. But it's kind of fascinating, really. It turns out in the beginning we were asking the wrong questions. The better question is, if you are a fan of Star Wars or Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Call of Duty, Fallout, Marvel, or NCIS, where do you go every day to stay current? What sites do you visit to see what's cool and what's in the news? What is your first entertainment site? So think about it. Think of it like sports. If you're a fan of these entertainment franchises, what site is serving these fans? And so here's what we learned. There is a very competitive landscape out there covering celebrities and fashion. Media brands like People, Us Weekly, Star, TMZ, many others. They do a great job of covering celebrity culture, but there's an enormous opportunity for media fans serving fans of the most popular entertainment franchises in depth. You can read TV fall previews in lots of places, but what media companies are serving those fans' passion every single day? So we see very long-term traffic from this kind of deep passion. So the answer, it turned out, was no one. What we've learned is that our users were turning Wikia into that resource, which was never really designed to do. Wikia is mainly, traditionally, we've thought of it as being encyclopedias, mini encyclopedias about each topic. But they were using our tools in ways they weren't designed by creating new things. So here's an example. I believe I've skipped the wrong slide. Sorry. So, sorry. Game of Thrones. There's the slide I skipped. So I love Game of Thrones. As I said, I look forward to watching the episode, sit down to watch the show. I download all the episodes, so I'm actually just a few episodes from the end of the final season so far. And now I want to find out what's happening with the show. I want to stay current. When is the next one coming out? What staffing changes? All the things that I'm interested in. So maybe I use news alerts, maybe I follow social media, maybe RSS feeds. But when your Game of Thrones update is surrounded by baby photos or political news, it's not so great. And you might have to go to a few different places, and you're not consistently getting the kind of entertainment news that you want. But on Wikia, our fans were doing this already. They were serving that need themselves. They customized our products themselves with news feeds, social feeds, and began writing fan stories. But it was never designed to do that. But when we noticed this, we said, okay, here's the opportunity. We need to empower the fans to do what they are trying to do. This is what my career has always been about, is figuring out what people are trying to do and help them accomplish that. So wikis are an incredibly powerful tool for content creation. They're essential to the digital ecosystem. They supply knowledge and information. They serve as a quick and easy way for anyone to create a resource that's organized, archived, and editable. It does a great job of giving them a place to catalog all of the knowledge they have about their favorite things, but it doesn't give them a place to capture the pulse of what's happening now. So we saw the opportunity to create a new model that puts fans first. We needed to completely rethink how we organize and present content for fans, and to build something new that's curated for fans, giving them everything they need to know about their fandoms and written by the fans themselves. And so we've created FANDOM. It's a new media property that we're launching today. It puts fans first. FANDOM combines original editorial, the best entertainment news from around the web, and content pulled from deep within Wikia's 360,000 communities. And FANDOM goes a step further. Through our fan contributor program, it gives aspiring journalists and knowledgeable fans the opportunity to report on entertainment from their perspective. So the result is a highly curated experience written by fans for fans around the biggest entertainment verticals and fandoms. So TV shows, movies, games. There'll be individualized topics around big entertainment franchises like Star Wars, Fallout, The Walking Dead. It's very rich content, detailed articles loaded with videos, professionally produced in our studios. And so if we go back to my example of Star Wars, which has traditionally been one of our strongest properties, I've always loved our Star Wars wiki because of the name. It's called Wikipedia. Gotta love that. But on FANDOM, you'll find what we call a topic card, dedicated to everything related to Star Wars, pulling in the most timely links in one quick read. And there's the fan feed that features the latest and most interesting updates on movies, TVs, games, external links to other sites, original editorial, fan reviews. And we showcase top communities. We put alongside here some of the biggest communities on Wikia that are relevant to today's news, so you can find the most active and most interesting communities around what's going on. Fandom is organized around the franchises that people love. It's more shareable, it's more knowledgeable. It's not just journalists, it's the fans creating the content. This launches today, so please keep in mind there are significant product enhancements that will continue to roll out in the weeks and months ahead. We have a very exciting product roadmap, including personalization, customization, deep social integration, and of course, apps. Got to do apps these days. That's always very important. And it's all powered by the largest entertainment fan site in the world, Wikia. Zoop. And for advertisers, I'm not very good at clicking here. And for advertisers, we've deeply integrated ad units right into the framework of fandom that immerse fans in your highly relevant content. So it frames your brands through the lens of fandom, letting fans experience your message the same way they would their favorite TV show, movie, or game. Connecting with fans isn't limited to ads, though. Fandom is truly about putting fans first. We've built a program that allows brands to work directly with their fans or to recruit fans to launch new IP by seeding content directly into the community on Wikia. Fan Studio. In one Fan Studio partnership, we helped Warner Brothers introduce a new game to a fan base. This is something's very strange. That previous slide didn't work. Sorry, I'm not very good at computers. In one Fan Studio partnership, I'll just tell you about it while we try to get the slides to go back. We helped Warner Brothers introduce a new game to a fan base that could be highly critical of the game's place within the well-known canon. If you ever do anything around fans, you know the fans are very passionate that things have to be a certain way. This is one of the things, you know, I know J.J. Abrams, and he was very worried with his first Star Trek movie because there were some things that were slight deviations from the canon, and he had to be very careful about that because the fans can end up hating something, even if it's great, if it's not done carefully. So it was important for them to work closely with fans to make sure that it wasn't going to freak anybody out. So in this case, starting about a year before the game was released, Warner Brothers tapped into fans through the Fan Studio and asked them to help problem solve for what might be their biggest challenges. In the end, they had a community of fans who were enthusiastic about the game, and they had a ton of content created by the fans themselves, and a line of events, videos, and even an app that tapped into fan knowledge and became an important part of their launch strategy. So with Fandom, this gives brands the opportunity to work directly with the fans to create fan content and communities around your IP. So this has been very, very powerful for this. Whether it's connecting with the fans through the Fan Studio, surrounding your brand with content written by the fans, or simply being associated with the franchises that people love, Fandom is where you'll find true engagement with an incredibly passionate audience. And this is a beautiful animation of a logo that doesn't work, so sorry about that. Oh, there it is. I got it to go. Okay, that's a beautiful animation. We'll skip it, though. There it goes. Animation. Yay, it's working. Okay. We'll skip that. So, all right, so now the 50 billion. I'm supposed to be predicting the future. So whether it's on Wikia or on Wikipedia, we've seen this massive democratization of knowledge. Anyone can search for anything. Anybody can be an expert on any subject. And more often than not, and this is the really important thing that we think is really the secret of the success of both Wikipedia and Wiki, is that more often than not, the expert is not the journalist writing the article. It's the person who spent countless hours playing the game, watching cutscenes, rewatching films, and collaborating with other fans. The future is around embracing these fans and giving them the stage and letting them write the story. They have the ability, and they do it every day at Wikia, to create much more high-quality content than you would ever get from a traditional fan magazine or sort of the general entertainment media. Sadly, we've seen some pretty cynical issues that have held back online advertising. I don't need to explain to this room the issues with ad fraud, ads that are not viewable, bots, interlopers who are cheating and manipulating the system. But over time, though, advertisers are going to value deeply engaged, passionate fans who are real. who can connect with in meaningful ways through live events, through branded entertainment, video, deeply integrated sponsorships, ownable consumer relationships that are authentic. And that's what we're building. For us, what we've come to understand is that these super fans, these are the people who are really very passionate about something, are incredibly trusted online advocates. We've got them engaged deeply, and when we help you engage with them, you're engaging with exactly the kind of people who have the kind of impact that your brand really needs. It's this carefully curated, hand-curated balance between professionally written articles, videos, original fan reporting that you'll find on FANDOM, and I predict in more places soon enough. So we're starting to put fans first today with the launch of FANDOM, and I hope that you'll join us there. Thank you. So we've got time for
I know you're on a tight schedule.
Oh no, I'm all right.
Great. Because this is. Thank you for announcing this here. It's a very big.
For us, it's super exciting. It's something we've been working on and thinking about. Brainstorming started, quite some time ago, and then we've been building it, and here we are.
Well, one of the things that I'm struck by, relative to the history of media and advertising, is television was constructed around a concept that was called least objectionable programming. It was actually structured around disinterest and white noise. And you've now invented something. You've seen something over your 20 years or so developing in this industry that's the exact opposite. It's not about disinterest. It's about passionate interest. I guess what I'm wondering, though, is, how do you keep those passions and interests going? It's like when I was growing up, there was a magazine called Tiger Beat that was for 14-year-old girls who were interested in British rock bands. But you'd graduate, you would move on. How do you keep them moving through their passions and evolving?
Yeah, well, I think, we know that for certain passions these days, so one of the things that we've learned is that, one of the reasons Star Wars is so huge, and for us, trust me, the amount of traffic we've had recently with the new Star Wars movie has been astronomical. It's in part because that is it's current, so young people, Star Wars has always been accessible to 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds, but it's also a nostalgia because a lot of us grew up with Star Wars, and so they've managed to keep that franchise going for many, many, many years. And we see a lot of the video gaming franchises are like that. The Final Fantasy series has been going, I don't know for how long now, but they just keep reinventing it and they maintain that. But importantly, of course, people's passions do change over time, but this is where being a wiki, being very open, means that we have people around our communities who, as their interests change, they just move on to the next community. So, what you started out saying is incredibly important. So, there was the idea of sort of least objectionable content, and it's just something that didn't bother you enough to turn the channel.
Right.
And that really changed the economics of HBO. Actually, was the first change there, where what they realized is they didn't want the maximum number of eyeballs. They wanted to have at least one thing that somebody in every household was willing to pay for, which meant that they were doing Sex and the Cities and Sopranos and things like this. And we see the same thing going on, at larger and larger scale today with Netflix series and things like that. And the idea here is exactly to create those passionate fan communities who are willing to engage and buy those things over and over. There was a great example in the Wikia world, if you know the TV show Lost, which is like super complicated. I was completely lost in watching it. And that show actually arose together with the Wiki, the Lostpedia, which is one of our properties. And there was actually this really cool interview with one of the head writers who said that they relied on Lostpedia a lot as kind of their show Bible. They couldn't always remember everything. The show was so complicated, but they knew that those core fans were keeping track of everything, and it was very mysterious, and they're tracking every clue, and and they just went with that. They just and that's, in some ways, it's a new genre of television. The modern genre of super complicated TV show becomes possible when you've got a wiki companion next to it. And so what happens, of course, well, you'd be surprised how much traffic the Lost Wiki still gets. The show's been over for a few years. But those fans, those super fans who were really into Lost, they've moved on now. So now they're writing the Game of Thrones wiki, or they're writing Mad Men wiki, or they're, whatever shows are current. And so the passions shift over time, but the act of being passionate is, I think, with you for a lifetime.
Now, I'm struck that there's a real similarity between what you're talking about, what Marissa Thalberg was talking about in our first presentation, which is about brand storytelling, because the goal there is the same. It's to incite and invite passion. So we're going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Sure. Based on what you know and what you have seen at Wikia, at Wikipedia beforehand, at Lostpedia, all the things that you've learned about passion and fandom, what lessons or principles would you say you've derived that would be relevant to marketers that are trying to do the same thing with their brands?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, I think that one of the things that we definitely see is that in order to get the kind of deep engagement, you have to have a story that's worth telling, and it can't just come up with it out of thin air. And so people need to have a reason to believe in you. And I actually think this is an amazing force for positive social change with companies, because in the old days, you could be a sort of a poorly perceived big bad company and paper over it with more marketing budget. That gets harder and harder to do because they're out there talking about you. They're talking about you on Twitter. They're documenting your activities. And this doesn't have to be, I don't even mean it in a really super negative way, although of course some companies do get that, but also in a positive way. If you're doing something that is good, that people like, they will talk about it. And so that kind of, it changes that complexion. So, so that's one thing I would say is you can't just hire a few copywriters to suddenly be a great brand that is a storytelling. You have to really think about the whole activities of your company and what you're doing and why you're doing it, so that you actually do have a story worth telling. Mm-hmm.
Now, your Chief Revenue Officer, Walker Jacob, is here and is, I have to give him another shout out. He spoke last night. He's also one of the most experienced sales leaders in the entire industry. And I'm wondering, as you've developed FANDOM and Wikia, what kinds of conversations do you and he have about taking what you're doing, the uniqueness, and making it work in what is a relatively slow to evolve advertising environment? How do you kind of bring them in to your fold in what you're doing?
Well, I think one of the things that we talk a lot about is authenticity. So, as we all know, I was just walking in the back when I heard some discussion about ad blockers. So ad blockers is a big problem for the whole industry. Even people who aren't using ad block software, but who are tuning out from advertising and so on. In order to reach people, you really need to have that kind of authentic engagement. And that is something that we have, sort of in great form. And indeed, for us as a company, we're very excited about, in the early days, if you just think about 10 years ago, it was, there was a real stress about what kind of revenue opportunities do we have? Because if you could just slap on some banner ads, untargeted, et cetera, the revenue was pretty crap, I have to tell you, because it wasn't engaging consumers. You couldn't find the right consumers. Now, with all of the modern tools that we have to target audiences, to slice and dice, but also to create deeper sort of experiences and sort of get brands integrated into the content in a way that is much deeper and not amenable to ad blocking, right, is the way forward, is the way of the future. And we have a way to do that does rest on authenticity. So we don't have to go down the path of sort of questionable advertorial type of stuff that consumers actually rebel against. If you go and you read a news story and you're like, actually, this is a fake news story, isn't it? People are annoyed by that. But if you go and you see fans engaging and you get engaged yourself, then whatever opportunities there are just that much more deeper. So that's one of the main things that we want to be a really high quality and unique experience for advertisers in a world where, frankly, there's, if we were just all about volume, of course, Facebook has more volume than us by a country mile. But what they don't have is real engagement by people who are passionate about something.
Right. Well, thank you. I know you have to run. I'm being told that we have to wrap up. This is a real honor to have you.
Oh, well, it's great to have you.
Thanks.
My
Everybody,
shoe twin.
Jimmy Wales. Thank you for your shoes.